So
can say it, right, Kara?
yeah, I can see it.
Okay. The presentation, that is.
Yes.
Okay,
And thank
cool.
you, Odette.
All right. So we're the first time home buyers class tonight, guys. We have a small group, so that's great. So hopefully we can ask questions, be engaged, and get everybody's answers tonight as best as possible, right? So as a new homeowner or as a home buyer, you're going to be feeling kind of stressed, concerned, anxious. There's probably a lot of uncertainty, especially if you haven't bought a home before. Is anybody feeling that way? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. Well, all of the above, or just like, I know for me, I think it would probably be like a fear of the unknown.
right. All of the above.
Okay.
That
Well, we're
makes
going to try
sense.
to address some of that. So, on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk about who we are, give you some client testimonials, talk about the mistakes to avoid, which will probably be the bulk of our presentation, Q&A, questions and answers, obviously, and one-on-one appointments. So, a little bit about us. So, I'm Christina. I've been licensed since 2001. I've been in Bucks County area my whole life. Um, I have my broker's license in PA in New Jersey, and what that basically means is that I'm able to open an office. I tell people it's kind of like having your master's degree in real estate. It's a step above um, a regular real estate license. I love helping others find the right home that's right for them with the right deal, right? It's all about getting the right deal, especially getting into, I'm sure some of you want to hear about the grant money tonight as well. I'm team leader and I am an aggressive negotiator, definitely. So, Carrie, you want to tell us about yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm Carrie, and I'm interested in helping with the financing options and grants and loan programs and directing you to the right people to help you sort out all of that information because everything is very personalized when you're buying. I've lived in Bucks County since 2004. I am licensed in Pennsylvania only currently. I really enjoy being around people. I've worked with the public pretty much my whole working career. And so I actively listen and I just want to support you in your home buying journey and to make it as easy as a process as possible for you. Um, and and I look for finding practical solutions to challenges that come up, and they do come up, unfortunately, with the with
There's
transactions
always
and selling.
challenges. And it's our job to make them smooth out
Yeah,
and make them not happen.
exactly.
Cool. So, some of our clients, um, Dion, who I worked with, I think we closed last month. They moved to the area in August of 25, and she had reached out to me then. And their first experience with a realtor wasn't great. She found me online, and her husband and I met in person while she was actually they were relocating here. While she was still, I think they were in Tennessee. So we discussed what they were looking up, came up with a plan, came up with a plan that met their needs. She wanted to save a little bit more, and they were happy that they closed on their house just about a couple months ago. But I was there to help, patient, and they're grateful. Everybody's grateful when you're able to help them and see everything come to fruition. Let me click the next one. Another one, Kelly, we sold her a home in, I think it was August of last year. She used the first time home buyer grant. She I had known her actually from the gym. We had talked and we went over, we talked, we chatted. I was like, okay, I think you'd be a good fit for the first time home buyer program because she didn't have a lot of money to put down. So it ended up working out really well for her. She got a house, actually the first ended up being the first one we looked at. But she was very grateful. She we walked her through the situation. It wasn't the easiest of situations, as it never is when there's bidding wars. And unfortunately, a lot of the homes we're having now are bidding wars,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So, but we got it done. We got it taken care of, and we got the home. We were up against a few other people. So, and she's thrilled. She redid the home. She sent me pictures, made it her own. It looks really cute. So, steps to home ownership. We want to come to the class tonight. So, we're learning about the process, right? Get pre approved with a mortgage broker, house hunt with a realtor, and finally turn your dreams into a reality. That's our steps. Sounds nice and easy, but let's break it down. So, mistakes. Our number one mistake is not checking to see what programs you could qualify for. So, the main program out there is what we call, which we'll get into, is the grant programs, which is the PHFA. Is everybody here Pennsylvania from Pennsylvania, or is anybody looking in New Jersey? Well, I'll assume everyone's looking in PA. If anybody's looking in New Jersey, let me know because I can talk about those programs as well if you are. So, first, Bucks County's grant program is, well, Pennsylvania's is the PHFA, and that's going to be our number one that we want to try to use for you. It's the most broad, and most people qualify for it. So you want to see what programs are out there because honestly, 15 extra $1,000 is a lot of money, you know, to have in your
I've
pocket.
heard of people walking away with money at closing when they bought, believe it
That's
or not.
crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Not
makes
in
it
my boat.
great.
Not in my boat, but I've heard some of my realtor friends that have had success that way.
So the first time home buyer programs, oh, there's a lot of questions around it. So you can get up to 15,000 with this program. So how do they get paid back? So if you stay in the home, I believe it is 8 years. It all depends. I would check with our main loan officer because it can vary. But 99% of the time, it's going to be if you stay in the home for 8 years, it is a forgivable loan. Hold on, I got to admit somebody. Okay. The loan is forgivable at that point. So you don't have to pay it back. If you end up moving before that time frame, then you would owe a portion of it. So it's prorated back. So let's say you moved in 4 years. I'm just using round numbers. You would owe half of it back then. So how do you qualify? So qualification's easy. It's going to go over basically your income. How much are you making? So in Bucks County, for a household of one or two people, you can make up to 119,000. If you have three or more in your household, you can do 130, you can make up to 137,000. In Philadelphia, one to two people, you can make up to 143. And for three plus people, it's 167 in Philadelphia. So the income limits are pretty high compared to the old home buyer grants we used to have. I'm going to say probably 20 years ago. They were very low income caps. So these are pretty high. There is also a few for down payment assistance. They have for the down payment assistance, there are three constraints. They're going to look at your income limit, like we just talked about. They're going to look at your asset limit and your credit score. So they're going to need a credit score, a minimum credit score of 660 for the PHFA. There are a few different programs, like I said, and we can kind of break that down if we do a one-on-one call together and bring in a specialty. I work with Gunner, his name is, and he does a lot of the first time home buyer grants and is extremely knowledgeable with him. So I usually call him in so that he qualifies. He'll qualify you and tell you exactly what you can what you can do. So mistake number two is not getting a pre-approval. So a lot of times people go out and look at open houses and or you just start looking at houses. I can give you one example. Um, I just spoke with a buyer last month and she called me and wanted to put an offer in on a house. And I had said, okay. And she had gone to an open house. I said, okay. She had an old pre-approval from last year and she only wanted to spend X amount of dollars per month. I think it was 2,400. She didn't want her payment to be over that. So I said, well, we really need to dig in on these numbers before we put an offer in because I want to make sure you're not over that 2,400 a month. I want you to feel comfortable. One of the first questions we ask in a one-on-one appointment is, where do you want to be? What do you want your monthly payment to be? Because we don't want you to be uncomfortable. Just because you get pre-approved, they could say, oh, you can afford up to X amount. Well, your payment may be way higher than you want. So we want to look at, what do you want your monthly payment to be? We want you to be comfortable first. So not getting a pre-approval can be a mistake because, like I was saying with that story with her, unfortunately, she couldn't afford the house. It wasn't in the price range she wanted, wasn't in her monthly payment range. She could afford it, she just didn't want to go there. So she was disappointed. She really wanted that house. And I said to her, these are why we have to go over the numbers ahead of time. You need to see. So
Yeah.
sometimes you can fall in love with a home, unfortunately, before you get your pre-approval, but then it's just not the home for you in the end, and you end up getting disappointed. So that's why we want to get pre-approved. So the three pillars of the mortgage approval, they're going to look at your credit. What's your credit score? Your debt to income ratio. So how much debt do you have? The credit cards, student loans, car payments versus your income. And how much money do you have for a down payment? Those are your three main things that we're going to look at.
And if you're looking to boost your credit, there are ways that you can do that. And there's people out there that assist you, and that's their job. And I know one of the really wonderful, easy peasy ways that you can boost your credit is to pay off your credit card every week instead of monthly. So it's like little things like that that you can do. So if you're under that 660 number, or even if it's like slightly and you just want to give it a little boost, that's something you can do.
Awesome. And also, loan officers, if it's not that much, loan officers will also work with you too for no charge because there are a lot of services out there that charge you for no charge if we need to boost credit. So, loan pre-qualification. Again, here we go with the three factors: your credit, income, and assets. So, pre-qualification is going to help you determine what house you qualify for. And again, it's going to help you determine or help us sit down and determine what price range do we want to be at for you to only spend X amount of dollars per month. Pre-qualification increases your bargaining power. And it also, when you get pre-qualified, it helps us be able to jump when we find you the right house. So when you're not pre-qualified, it can take a couple days. And right now in this market, homes aren't sitting, they're only sitting for a couple days. So we may not have a chance to bid on a house if you're not pre-qualified ahead of time. It helps you estimate your monthly payment. Again, that's what I was saying. We want to make sure we're in that right range for you. Identify which loan product will fulfill your needs. And sometimes this takes time, like whether we're looking at grants or different types of loans. it takes time to get approved for them and figure everything out. And it's nice not to be rushed doing that. So you can take time to digest all the information and not be rushed to hurry up, and buy something. We can do it in time so that you feel comfortable about the decisions you're making. So, tips for a simple loan approval. We basically want to analyze what not to do. We don't want to make any mistakes. So let's say we're under contract for a house. We found the house, we love it. We put in an agreement of sale, right? We don't want to make any large purchases. We don't want to change bank accounts. We don't want to change jobs. We don't want to close any credit cards because believe it or not, when you close a credit card account, it hurts your credit and brings your credit score down. Consolidate your debt into one or two credit cards. You're going to always talk to your loan officer when you're doing anything like that after we have your home, after you're under contract with a home. You don't want to apply for a new credit card or take out a new loan or max out or overcharge your credit card accounts. You want to keep everything nice and even and coast along and do whatever you want after settlement.
Because it will mess you up. And Chris, you remember when we had that transaction where uh, that happened, where they purchased something they weren't even thinking, they just
So when
they
they bought the
did something
furniture,
and oh yeah, and
a lot
it
of
put
times
off the
people will go
it
want to go furniture shopping before they have the home so they can get the furniture delivered.
yeah.
However, you can't do that and put it on your credit card
It
because it can hurt your debt to income ratio.
And it stalled the whole deal. Like we had to wait like an extra month, and then it cost more money because we had to, you had to give money to the people that you're buying from to make them to let them know that no, everything's okay, you're fixing it. Like it was a big mess. So you just really want to be careful
Want to
to
be careful and
do
listen to your
something like
loan
that.
officer.
Yes.
When you don't, you get in trouble. So keep your job. You want to maintain your current employer because when you switch jobs, I mean, if you're going to switch jobs and we know it, fine. Let's talk about it. But we don't want to just willy-nilly not have a job because that will not help us get a mortgage at all. So there's different types of mortgages out there. So your first is conventional, which is always thought of as the traditional 20% down. You can do a conventional loan at 5, 10, 20% down, any amount. But your minimum you can put down with a conventional is typically 5. An FHA loan, an FHA loan is a little bit different only because you can put less down. You can put down around 3. Um, and when we do talk about the grant, the PHFA grant, that is through FHA as well. It's a Pennsylvania FHA grant. There's USDA. We don't see as many in them in our area in Pennsylvania. You see more of them in New Jersey. And then VA. If anybody's a veteran, you can buy a house, they say, with no money down, if you use the VA loan. However, that's becoming harder to do because we have so many bidding wars. It's harder to say you can buy a house with no money down because there'll be stronger buyers against you putting money down. So it makes it harder to win in a bidding war situation. But we're still out there using them. Where there's a will, there's a way. So, what you can and can't use as down payment. So a lot of down payment, you can have savings, 401k. A lot of times people get gifts, stocks, bonds, cash. You're not going to want to use a credit card, another loan, or any undocumented cash. If you have undocumented cash, I typically tell people get it in the bank a couple months before because then it's because typically a mortgage lender is going to ask you for 2 months worth of bank statements. So you want it to already be shown in the bank. We can't have any undocumented cash because they don't know where it came from and they can't verify your income that way with the debt to income ratio. So, what fees will need to be paid before and after closing? So, what can you expect to have to pay out of pocket? So, after we go under contract, we'll have your mortgage application. And after that's started, you'll have to pay an appraisal fee for an appraiser to go out. The appraiser is going to go out and look at the home and tell the bank whether this is a great investment, this is good to go at this price, or this isn't good. This is priced too high. We never have anybody say it's priced too low. So that doesn't happen. This home's priced too high, and then we have to go back and negotiate the sales price. But that's typically running now around $600, an appraisal fee, and that would be an upfront cost. Title and escrow funds are paid at settlement, and they're part of your closing costs. Prepaid taxes and insurance, again, are part of your closing costs and paid at settlement. A home inspection and a termite inspection, they're usually done within 10 days of a seller signing a contract that we write. So those would be need to be done ahead of time. And I would say together, a home inspection's around 5 and termites probably around 100. Any questions so far from anybody? Please feel free to unmute yourself, ask.
You can also put it in the chat if you want.
I'm going to keep moving. Okay, number 3, going to the listing agent. So we see this often. When you go to the listing agent, unfortunately, you have to remember that that listing agent is representing the seller. So it can be a direct conflict. They're not there to represent your best needs. They're there to represent the seller's needs. So you could end up paying an extra few $1,000s because of that. Also, circling back to representing your needs are more than just how much am I paying? I'll give you an example. So I had a client call me about her daughter's house. Her daughter had bought a few years ago from the listing agent about 3 years ago. And they now, this week, just discovered that there was an underground septic tank left that was full. And she asked me, she says, "How is this legal?" And I don't know anything about her daughter's purchase. I was not involved in that. But I said, you need to go back and look at your seller's disclosure. She would have signed a seller's disclosure, and on there, I gave her the page and area. That's where it's going to list if there's any underground septic tanks or if any abandoned tanks. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes those types of things get swept under the rug by a listing agent. They're not going to be there to go through the seller's disclosure with you line by line and say, hey, look, there's an underground septic tank that's still here at this property. Then those are things you should know. People think it's just always about the money, but it's not. You need to look at that seller's disclosure and all the documents along and know what you're getting into. And that can be one of the mistakes people make. Hire a buyer's agent. Hire someone that has your best interest in mind. They work for you. There's rarely any out-of-pocket cost. Our area is still having the sellers pay the buyer's agent fee. You want someone who's a strong negotiator, somebody's going to stand up and fight for you. That's what you need. That's going to look over that seller's disclosure and point out any red flags to you, like, hey, what's going on with this? Let's ask the seller, where the tank is, because had she been notified about it, like told by her agent, hey, you need to explore this more. Pennsylvania is a buyer beware state. So sellers are given a set of questions on the seller's disclosure, and it's our responsibility, the buyer and the buyer's agent's responsibility, to ask more questions, to dig deeper. They're asked the questions on the seller's disclosure, and that's fine, but they don't have to go into detail. They can just state there's an underground tank. Okay. Well, it's up to us to pick that up and go, where's the underground tank? What was it used for? And dig deeper to get the right answers so that you know what you're buying. Mistake number 4 is skipping a home inspection. So, unfortunately, in our climate today, we are still seeing a lot of bidding wars, and some people have been still waiving inspections. But it is ideal if you are able to get a home inspection. It gives you negotiating power. It can tell you about the non-structural safety issues that are in the home. Most often, a home inspection is going to go over the plumbing, the electrical, any safety items in the house. And it can give you a forecast of maintenance items and things that will be able to need to be done in the future, as well as they can tell you a lot of times the home inspector will go over with you how to change air filters in your heater and different little items, where your water shutoff is in the house, your main water shutoff, which is great to know, especially if you have a flood, you can turn the water off versus not knowing where it is. So this will help you identify and forecast what your projected calendar is going to be for what you need to do at the next house, at your house. Number 5. So if you're looking at an association, meaning a condo or a homeowners association, you need to take that document review period seriously. Okay. So you want to review the homeowners docs and look at the financials. Is that community in good financial shape? Are there outstanding assessments? I know I just sold one in an homeowners association this winter, and there was assessments from the snow. They didn't have enough money budgeted for the snow removal, so we had to make sure um, that the seller paid them because they were living there during that time period. It shouldn't be on the new buyer to pay a special assessment for snow removal. They weren't there. Um, you want to look at all these things. You want to learn. I mean, there's all different types of special assessments. You want to see if there's lawsuits against the condo association or the homeowners association. That's another big thing that could end up coming down the line because that could cost them money, and that might be another special assessment.
And also
So we
just to
want,
be like aware of the rules, because a lot of these HOAs have strict rules that you have to follow, and you might not want to be a rule follower.
yeah, I know I moved into an HOA 5 years ago before I bought my house, and I put a little, a butterfly like lawn ornament in my garden. It was small. It was no more than 2 feet high.
You got in
And I
trouble?
got a note on my door that I wasn't allowed to have one of them. And I laughed because I knew what I signed up for. It
Yeah,
was funny. But I was like, seriously, it's a metal butterfly that comes up to your knee.
yeah,
And this is what I'm getting a letter about.
yeah. I have my
It was
cousin's
funny.
actually selling his house now down in Florida because he's doesn't want to deal with an HOA anymore.
I
He
liked
gets
it
those
because it
notices all the time.
I liked it because it keeps it all uniform
Yeah,
and everything's
yeah. And if
but
you're that kind of person that you
yeah,
like that, then
Not
Awesome.
everybody's meant to be in an HOA, without a doubt. I could be in one fine because I have less to take care of then.
That's right.
And just laugh when I get a note. So, how are you guys feeling now going over a little bit of this process? Still feeling stressed, uncertain, anxious?
Not really.
You feeling better?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Wonderful.
positive. I'll take it.
Anybody else?
Okay. Anybody want to chime in? We're not completely done yet, but anything they've learned tonight that they found helpful? Okay. Do you guys see yourself starting the process this year? Is anybody just, a lot of times people come to webinars and prepare. What's everybody's time frame that they're thinking?
I'm looking at 12 months to between 12 to 24 months. So this
Okay.
webinar is very helpful because, all the information that you guys are sharing, I'm writing it down and just like, you know, learning more about the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It
want to be
always,
prepared.
yeah, it pays to be prepared, definitely. That's great.
Absolutely.
So, would anybody like the opportunity to dig deeper? And even if you are 12 to 24 months away, that's fine, to dig deeper with us for a one-on-one call and kind of go over your situation and where you're at, and we can answer any questions personally.
I would like an additional information, but
Mhm.
because my time frame is so far out, like
Yeah,
how how quickly do you think would be smart to do this one-on-one session? Like, do you think I should wait maybe 6 months from now, like circle back with you guys,
you can
or it
do
doesn't
that.
really matter?
It doesn't really matter. It depends on the questions you have. If you're like, oh, I have a little bit of uncertainty, should I do this? Should I do that? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we could always have two chats. It doesn't matter. We're always happy. We're here and happy to help.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Awesome.
yeah. So we're offering free consultations. We're always here, happy to help. So your next steps is to book a call and basically figure out who you want to work with as a realtor and talk to them. Figure out your personal situation, you know, exactly what you want to pay per month. So they have an idea. Get pre-approved and go house hunting for your dream home. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question about student
Sure.
loans.
Yeah.
I've heard kind of like both sides of it. Some people say, okay, well, student loans may not like impact your ability in a negative way. And I've also heard like, well, yeah, student loans could impact your ability to purchase in a negative way because it's going to affect your debt to income ratio. What is your take on that?
So they kind of changed student loans over the years. Um, they don't affect as much as they used to, but it depends on how much they are. It all depends on everybody's situation. It's not before it was debilitating
Okay.
in all honesty. Like I'm gonna say like 10, 15 years ago. Now it's like, okay, it's just like we'll figure it out now. It used to be you couldn't buy a house if you had student loan debt pretty much at all. But now banks are figuring it out and it's not as big a deal.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. If that is it, then I can say thank you. Thank
And
you,
thank you.
everybody, for coming. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to help answer anything, answer any question you have. And we're available for any one-on-one calls you guys want to have about your situation. If you want to run anything past us, we're here to help.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining
Thank
us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.